I just sat around watching Netflix, eating Oreos.
My father was always much more concerned about the stupidity.
Oh, you drove away with the pump in your... Oh, no!
My weight's gone up and down my whole life, and I blame the Book It program. If you don't know what the Book It program is, when I was in elementary school, Pizza Hut decided that the best way to solve the illiteracy problem was to offer children a free personal pan pizza if they read 4 books, or told their teacher that they read 4 books. And I mean, it was awesome when you were a kid, right? You got pizza for doing homework, but 30 years later, nobody's making you read books and you're hooked on pizza. That's kind of what I'm going through right now. I knew I had to drop some weight because I reached a point where I thought people were talking about my weight all the time, whether they were or not. That's just where my head was. Like when the Delta flight attendant asked me to switch seats to balance out a Canadair regional jet, that'll ruin your day real quick, okay? Because if I think about it, it's not me. It's where I'm sitting versus where there's too many empty seats. But if you're self-conscious about your weight, that's not what you hear. What you hear is, sir, if you move 10 feet that way, the whole plane will fly properly. Could you help us out? Could you help us out? And if you have to use the restroom, please ring your call button so we can send 2 people to your seat. Okay, I don't want to turn this thing into a space shuttle. We're just trying to get to Florida. I don't know. I rationalize too much, right? I think, you know what? Everybody loves food. Why do I have to change? And it's true. Everybody does love food. Bath & Body Works was selling a candle that smells like mashed potatoes. How fat are you? Okay? When you want your bedroom to smell like buttered mashed potatoes. This fat. Turns out I got the gravy one too. It smelled amazing. It was a great deal. It was buy one, get one. And I got a free bottle of fried chicken body wash because I opened up a credit card to pay for it. Like, it was a good deal. Number 1 show on TV 6 years in a row was Man vs. Food. Yeah, they're doing it again. They got a new guy because the first one exploded or whatever. We don't need to do that show again. I learned everything I was supposed to learn the first time around. I watched that show as if it were a documentary meant to show America what will happen to your body if you eat unhealthy every day for 6 years. If you watch it like that, it works. You could leave here tonight. Go to YouTube. Do a search for Man vs. Food. Watch a clip from season 1, then immediately watch a clip from season 6. You'll notice a difference right away. That guy was way skinnier when he started, and he had an amazing vocabulary. Where'd that go? Watch season 1. He's very articulate. He's like, folks, there is a symphony of flavor going on in my mouth right now. When I bit down, I got heat from the peppers, I got sweet from the relish, little salt from the bacon. This place, they've done it, I'll tell you. They have made perfect harmony in the form of a sandwich. And then 6 years later, he's like, this is yummy. This is really good. It's too easy to eat terrible. It's everywhere, and I fall for it. I see some gimmick food, they're like, this is the most calories ever, and I'm like, I gotta try that. Wendy's has a sandwich called Son of Baconator. Their food is making babies when they're closed to sell the next day. Little sandwich children. Golden Corral, that place is still a thing. You ever go to Golden Corral? You can go once. Can't go twice. Because when you go that first time, you learn there are no rules. There is no code of conduct. That's why it's called Golden Corral. It's just like the Old West of eating. I was like, maybe this was a bad idea. We try to leave. The guy's like, sir, is there a problem? Look, man, I appreciate you giving me access to a chocolate fondue fountain for $9. The problem is I just watched the guy walk by with his prime rib. I was like, hey, man, that's not gravy. I know. What is that you got? Whipped cream on corn on the cob. It's called cream corn. But I've needed to lose weight for a while, and I feel like I had tried everything, you know, and I would talk about it on stage, and then people would yell out how they think I should lose weight, you know. One lady's like, "You should go vegan," and I don't know if there's any vegans in here with enough strength to raise your hand, but look, if you can do it, good for you, okay? I can't do it. I've only had one vegan experience. It did not go well. I was in Jacksonville, and I was walking down the street, and I passed a bakery with all these beautiful things in the window. So I just kind of poked my head, and I go, "Excuse me, ma'am, what's that right there on the bottom?" And she goes, "That's a root beer float donut. And we just took it out of the oven about a half hour ago. Do you want one?" I was like, "No, I want two. But only put one in the bag, because the other one ain't making it out of this store." So she hands me the one over the counter. I take a bite as we walk to the register, and I was like, oh. She's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "I think you made this wrong." She goes, "No, I didn't make it wrong, sir. Are you not aware that you're in a vegan bakery?" I was like, "I don't even know what that means." And so she points to this sign behind the counter, and it says, "No product contains an ingredient that comes from an animal." And I was like, "Well, that's ironic, because this is some bullshit." No, I didn't say it, but I should have said it, because she deserved to hear it. And she did deserve to hear it. She should have known when I came through that door, I was in the wrong place. Look at me. Look at me! I guarantee I don't look like any of her regulars, okay? And I would have had a lot more respect for her if she would have been like, "Sir, I think you might want the place down the street." Yeah. Don't worry, it happens all the time. They'll have everything you're looking for. Milk, eggs, butter, taste. Right down the street. It's like 4 blocks. I'm sure you'll call an Uber. You can wait inside. It's... I do feel like I've tried everything, though. Tried P90X. 90-day workout plan. I made it 15 minutes. About 15 minutes. It was hard. Nobody on those DVDs looked like me. Much like the vegan bakery, that should have been my clue. I'm in the wrong place, right? Everybody on there is yelling at me like they know me. Keep going. Love that pain. Enjoy the burn. Why don't you shut up, dude? That's easy for you to say. You look like you've been doing this your whole life. Why not put on one guy that looks like me off to the side so that I have a basis of comparison to how things should be going on my end, you know? I'd like to see if he's also laying on the ground about to pass out before the warm-up's over. I'd like to know that. I might check out disc 2 just to see what happened to that guy. They'd be like, "Well, we lost Kevin yesterday, but we're glad that you're back for leg day." And I'm sure some of you are like, "Josh, I don't know you that well, but my guess is you went into it with a bad attitude." No, I didn't. I went into it with a great attitude. I expedited the shipping. I upgraded to the multicolored resistance bands. I was dressed and ready to go the day I knew it was on the truck for delivery. I put that thing in, and within seconds, regretted every decision I had ever made in my entire life that led me up to that moment. And the thing is, I didn't go out looking for it either, you know? I was just at home one night, watching TV, minding my own business, when this guy comes on. He's like, "Hey, man, you want a 6-pack? Yeah? You want it in 3 months? I mean, the sooner the better, I guess." "Well, call me." So I called him. It was so bad. And here's the other thing that bothers me. At that time, when I started it, my health level was right here, okay? And all I wanted P90X to do was get me from here to here, right? Just a little bump. I was so bad, I didn't want to do anything. I just sat around watching Netflix, eating Oreos. Every kind of Oreo that came out, you know how they do like the special flavor Oreos? I wanted to try all of them so I could give them an honest review and decent. I even put a fake IP address on my computer so that I could order Oreos from other countries. I did. I tried Swedish fish Oreos. Yeah, they're terrible, but it was better than doing CrossFit. And then by the time I snapped out, I found myself here. I was like, this is messed up, dude. I'm fatter because I tried P90X. And that's how I went with everything. If If I didn't get immediate results, I would just sit around and get fatter, sad that it didn't work. Gym memberships, exercise equipment, diets. I tried every kind of diet people told me about, even if it sounded made up. I was like, maybe it'll work for me. I tried this Minecraft diet. Yeah, it's just 3 square meals a day. Listen. It's a great joke. It's a great joke. Thank you. Thank you, manager of GameStop. Those are the only people that like that joke. All the grandparents are like, well, I'll tell it to my grandkid. Maybe they'll enjoy it. I don't know. I didn't like the order that P90X went in. They start with arms. Disc 1, arms. I need my arms to do stuff tomorrow. The next day I couldn't get either arm higher than where this is. Do we all see that? That's how high both of my arms would go. To brush my teeth that morning, I had to brace against the door frame of the bathroom, lower my head down, and then just move it around on the toothbrush. Because my arms wouldn't work. My wife is, she's been very supportive of me through my comedy career, which I appreciate. She understands that, you know, I'm in a line of work, and I've been in it for so long that my brain is trained to come up with a joke in any situation, no matter how inappropriate a joke might be in that situation. I can't turn it off. I remember the day we found out she was pregnant with our first child. She took the test and she passed or whatever, and she's like, I'm not gonna get excited until I hear it from the doctor himself. So we go to the doctor and he comes in, he's like, yeah, you guys are pregnant, congratulations. And I said, what's the due date? He said, well, if the date you gave me is correct, I'm gonna guess July 4th. And I was like, 4th of July, that'd be ironic. He goes, why is that? I go, I mean, the day that America is celebrating the birth of its freedom, I can mourn the death of mine. And it's a great joke. I stand by it. And listen, at some point, I probably should have just told him I was a comedian. Because when someone knows that you're a comedian, they let you get away with saying things like that. They don't get weird. They're just like, that's what he does. I could tell by his reaction he had no idea what I did for a living. And in that moment, I had to decide, do I tell him and make this room more comfortable for everyone that's in it? Or do I challenge myself as a professional and try to replicate this exact same awkward silence over every visit for the next 6 to 8 months? Of course, that's what I chose. That's back when she still thought I was funny. That goes away. One day I learned a valuable lesson. Just shut up. It's good advice. If I ever meet newlyweds or engaged couples, I always tell the dude, bro, just shut up. You don't know how good this advice is, but it's advice I wish I'd gotten a long time before I had to figure it out on my own. I got terrible advice from my married friends at my reception. And I blame the open bar for that, you know, looking back. I was engaged for 1.5 years. They never said a word. Then there was free Kettle One for 4 hours. Now I got 27 Dr. Phil's popping up every 5 seconds. And my one buddy, I knew it was gonna happen. I told her a week out. I said, listen, he's probably gonna get pretty drunk at our reception, and my only ask of you is if you see him talking to me or even walking my way, you pull me aside or I'll be stuck with him all night. She's like, don't worry about it. So sure enough, he's wasted, okay? We all knew he's wasted. He's breakdancing by himself on the middle of the dance floor to the soundtrack from Aladdin during appetizers. We all knew. So he goes into his backspin on Friend Like Me, finishes. We lock eyes. He gets up. He starts stumbling my way. I try to find her. She's leaving the room. I was like, oh boy, here we go. And I've known this dude since we were 3 years old. I've never seen him this drunk. I was like, hey man, you having a good time? Are you serious? This is the best wedding I've ever been to. And let me tell you something. I was laying over there, and I was like, I've been married for a minute, you know? What kind of best friend would I be if I didn't give my boy advice about marriage on his wedding night? So listen, if I was just gonna give you just one really good Sorry, sometimes I can feel her walking up behind me. It's just... Just pick your battles. That's what every one of my married friends told me. They said, pick your battles. They said it like it was a secret. Top level intel. I was finally allowed to hear it. Pulled me aside. They're like, dude, it's so easy. Just pick your battles. It's terrible advice. What does it mean on paper? It means if I only argue my side every once in a while, I get to win that time. No, you don't. You never get to win. There'll be times you think you've won. She might even say, fine, you win. You have no idea how bad you've lost at this point. I don't like the word battles. I don't think that's accurate. Very dramatic. 90% of the things you argue about when you first get married are so dumb. She came up to me one time, come here, you got a peeper. What? You have a peeper. What's a peeper? Josh, the white stuff in your eye when you wake up in the morning. Peeper. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. She's like, why? What do you call it? I was like, sleep? That doesn't make sense. Yeah, it does. That's what it's called. So it's at like one side, but it's both, Jennifer. You have a piece of sleep in your eye, or you have some sleep in your eyes. It's the same word, singular and plural, like deer or fish, right? So we're going back and forth, knowing neither one of us is using the medical term for whatever that stuff is when you wake up in the morning. But my idiot friends are in the back of my head going, dude, you're about to decide what that's called in this house for the rest of your life. You might want to see this one through to the end. So I was like, all right, battle pick, let's dance. This is it. This is the one. I picked this one. I would like to select this battle to be mine. You could have the next 10, 15. I don't know. I was not given a number. I would like to choose this battle. She had no idea what I was talking about. It should have been over right then and there, according to legend. Nope. 2 hours later, I say sleep. She says peepers. I'm like, I'm sick of arguing about this. Let's just call somebody else. We get her friend Heather on the phone. Well, I say crusties. Crusties. You kidding me? It's for your nose. You got a crusty or there's a bat in the cave. We're not even talking about this. So we call my friend Dave. I say eye boogers. I'm a grown man. I'm not going to call him eye boogers. Why didn't I just shut up? If I just shut up, I'd be sitting on the couch all by myself playing Call of Duty in a much better mood. What's that, peeper? Oh, I must have missed that this week. Whatever. But you know what we call it? Peepers. You're right. We call it peepers. So what was any of it for? I have no idea.
The first time I remember specifically not getting arrested, I was 15 and I shoplifted marshmallows. Marshmallows are not an easy thing to shoplift to begin with. They're a big pillow-sized white thing. Harder in my case because I was wearing a tiny little leather jacket that I inherited from my grandfather. I thought it looked cool. I thought it made me look like one of the Ramones. Spoiler alert, it did not make me look like one of the Ramones. But it did make it very hard to steal marshmallows. You may be thinking to yourself, Keith, why? Why would you try to steal a big pillow-sized sugary confection wearing a tiny little jacket? It's because I was arrogant. I was overly confident of my ability to steal from that Bel Air. Because I stole from them every single Sunday. For months, I went in there and I stole donuts. And it was easy. You just walk up to the donut counter and you say, hey, I would like a dozen donuts. And then you pick out each of the dozen donuts. And some kid puts them in a bright pink box for you. And then he gives you a free one. Because that's a policy. When you steal 12 donuts from a place, they give you a 13th one free. Call it a stealer's dozen or something, I don't know. But then the kid will close up the box and they'll say to you, you want me to ring you up here? Or take it to the register, and I go, I better take it to the register, you know, whenever I tell my mom I'm coming here, out comes the list, you know how it is, buddy. You gotta make the small talk. And they just hand you the donuts, assuming you're gonna go pay for them, because how brazen would you have to be to make a kid box up the donuts that you're stealing from them in a bright pink box? And then you take it and you walk right past all the registers, and they all look at you. All the cashiers look at you. You say hi to them. They know you. They see you every Sunday. Like, what's up, Tom? How's the wife? And they assume you paid for them, because how brazen would you have to be to have some kid box up a dozen donuts that you're stealing from them? It's a free tip from you on how to get free donuts. Then you take them to your friend Jim's house, and his parents think you're the sweetest kid around, because you bring donuts every Sunday when you come over to play his Nintendo. Worked out well for everybody. So I'm arrogant, I get the marshmallows on this occasion. I might have had a problem with sugar. I get the marshmallows in my little jacket, they're sticking halfway out, and I start making my way towards the door. And I see the undercover security. And he's standing at the door blocking it, which is insulting. Because that's not normally what they do. Normally they want to catch you. So they just hang out by the door looking nonchalant. If you ever see an adult man paying way too much attention to those little quarter machines with the stretchy hands, that's undercover security, waiting for someone to try to leave. Because you haven't stolen until you leave, okay? There's no crime against putting stuff in your pocket. The crime is only when you walk out the door. This is handy information. The next time you go shopping, wear something with a lot of pockets. It's fun. And as you walk around, you just put everything from your list in one of the pockets. And then you go up to the register. And as you start unloading that on the thing, you'll hear like 6 different voices go, "Damn it!" It's just wasted a whole line of undercover security's time. And you kept them busy, while people that needed to shoplift are able to ply their trade. Again, we can be helpers. But in this case, the guy's blocking the door, and he looks me right in the eye and he shakes his head no, because he doesn't want to be the guy that busts this special little kid that's trying to steal marshmallows while wearing a tiny little jacket. He's like, no. But I've got momentum. So I walk right around him, and I go out the other door. And I hear him go, "Ugh!" And he comes out and he grabs me and he pulls me in, takes the marshmallows from me, and they bring me back to the manager's office. I don't know if you've ever seen a grocery store manager's office, but there are no windows. It's a very depressing place. The manager comes in wearing a suit that I'm sure fit him at one time. As he comes in, he says, "Listen, kid, we're gonna do you a favor. We're not gonna call the police." And I stand up, I say, "Thank you so much, I really appreciate that, sir. Never gonna do it again. I'm gonna stop stealing donuts, too." "What? No, nothing, I didn't say anything." He says, "Yeah, we're not gonna call the cops, but we are gonna call your parents." So I said, "Is the cop thing still on the table? Could we talk about this? Because my mom is gonna be very disappointed. I had one of those Catholic moms." "Yeah, but I hear that about every mom. You're like, oh, Irish moms, oh, Mexican moms. I think maybe just all moms are good at guilting. Maybe that's not a cultural signifier. Maybe there's one cultural group out there that their moms aren't good at guilting. Maybe it's the Norwegians. Maybe that's why they like that black metal. I don't know." But my mom she was very good at guilting. I said, the manager calls my mom. All the employees are taking turns peeking in the office. They're like, "That's the kid, that's the marshmallow guy." They're like, "Yeah, that's him." I'm like, his jacket's so tiny. Manager walks me out front to wait for my mom. She pulls up in the white van. He puts me in the van. My mom says, "Thank you." She's humiliated. We drive home in silence. That's when I know I'm in trouble, because she's not gonna let me have it. She's gonna wait and let Dad let me have it. And I'm of a generation that meant I was gonna get beat. We got beat. I'm not saying it's a good thing, it's just what happened. I hate when members of my generation try to use that as an excuse for hitting their kids. Like, we got hit, remember? We got hit. You gotta hit your kid. We got hit. And then I have to explain to them that we are not what I'm aiming for. At all. Never looked at us and went, I'm pretty good. Let's do that again. Never look around the world and go, we better not change anything. This is going so well. Just stay the course. And I felt for my father, too. I felt bad for my dad because the guy worked 8 hours a day. He had up to a 2-hour commute both ways. He comes home, he just wants to go in the nice living room where the kids aren't allowed and read his Stephen King, And no, there's mom waiting with a shopping list of boys he has to beat, He comes home, she tells him about the marshmallows. I hear him coming to my room. I'm like, oh. My dad opens the door and he says 2 words. That's not true, he says 1 word, but he says it twice. He says, marshmallows? Marshmallows. His heavy Brooklyn accent. See, my mom was more concerned about the morality of these things, but my father was always much more concerned about the stupidity. My dad says to me, Keith, marshmallows have no resale value. Jewelry, I'd understand. Money, I would understand. Marshmallows? I was like, sorry, Dad, I'll do better next time. That's not what I'm saying. And you know it. That's when I started laughing. Not because of my hilarious joke, but because I am a nervous laugher. I've always been a nervous laugher. I laugh when there's confrontation. It's gotten me into trouble, it's gotten me out of trouble. Luckily, my dad was cool. When he heard me laugh, he would say, I know that you're just laughing because you're nervous, and you should be, because you're in deep doo-doo. And he would just go on with the scolding. My dad's sitting there trying to figure out why his supposedly gifted 15-year-old is so stupid. And that's when he looks at my bed, and he sees something that catches his eye, and he looks back at me, and he goes, tell me you weren't wearing the little jacket. Oh my God, you're wearing the little jacket. He was wearing the little jacket. Now I've got to answer him. I've got to give him an explanation why I did something so stupid. And I said, Dad, it was a dare. He said, what? I said, it was a dare. We were playing truth or dare. That's why the little jacket. That's why marshmallows. It was intentionally something very difficult. That's how dares work. To which my dad said, that's stupid. But he said, that's stupid, with a little hint of that's an acceptable 15-year-old level of stupid. And I knew that he was okay with it. And he said, we'll talk about this more later, which always meant that we wouldn't talk about it more later. And he shut the door. And to this day, I've never admitted to my father that there was no dare. No, there were just 2 15-year-old boys who had a really bad case of the munchies and decided they absolutely must have Rice Krispie treats. And you see, Jim had the Rice Krispies. All right, I'll tell you about one more time I was not arrested. A little bit later, I was 16, and I had a friend named Andy who was 30. You guys got real judgmental real quick. And I understand, because that's exactly how my dad felt. I was like, Dad, Andy's cool. He's got a lot of hip-hop records. My dad was like, Andy's not cool. Andy is the Fonz. And I went, oh my God, you just named the coolest person in the world. And he said, no, you just think that because you're young. The Fonzie is a dude that puts on a leather jacket and hangs out with teenagers. That's not a cool adult. Cool adults hang out with other adults. I was like, you don't know anything. I went to Andy's house, and Andy let me have a beer. And me and Ryan drank beer, and Andy played Too Short, and it was cool. And then I started to notice that Andy was having an episode, or he was on something. He was acting very weird. And then the downstairs neighbor knocked on Andy's floor, which was his ceiling. I don't know if you know this, but one man's ceiling is another man's floor. And we hear the knocking. I said, Andy, I think he wants you to turn down the Too Short. And Andy goes, no. He's cool, I'll go talk to him. And I was like, Andy, I don't think you're in a state to go talk to him. And Andy goes, I'll go talk to him, it'll be fine. He walks downstairs, and me and Ryan are like, oh, I wonder how this is going to work out. And then we hear yelling. And then we hear a tussle. And then Andy comes running back in the apartment with his hair disheveled, his shirt is torn. And Andy yells, I'm gonna stab a fool! And he runs to his kitchen, and he pulls open the knife drawer, and he yanks out a knife. Problem is, Andy didn't have a stab a fool knife. Andy had a very long, serrated, slice some bread knife. Andy had a, I'm gonna slice up a fool. I'm gonna kill a fool very messily kind of knife. And he ran back out the door, and I turned to Ryan and I said, I don't know what to do. And Ryan said, we should leave. And I said, we can't go home, we drank a beer. And Ryan says, we'll go to the gas station, because that's what teenagers did then. So we go to leave, and then we hear the sirens coming down the street. We jump back in the apartment. Oh no, the cops are coming. They're gonna know we had a beer. So we don't know what to do. Andy's still downstairs, the cops are on the way, we're trapped in the apartment, and then the guest room door opens. The guest room door had never opened. We didn't know that Andy had a roommate. And this guy that looked like he had been asleep in there since 1969, like Hip Van Winkle, comes walking out. And he sees me and Ryan, and he goes, you, come with me. And he walks back in the room, and Ryan and I followed a barefooted adult into his bedroom because it felt like the safest course of action at the time. He shuts the door. That wasn't comforting. And then we look, and he has all these guitars on his wall. And he takes one down, and he hands it to Ryan. He takes another one down, and he hands it to me. And then he takes down a third one, and he pulls up a stool. I was like, he has a stool in his room. I started to realize this room was like his gig. Like, he had a residency there, you know? It's where he played every night. And he strums the guitar. Now, I'm not a great singer, but the song that he sang went something like this. We don't know nothing about that noise out there. We're just in here having a guitar lesson. And just then the door opened, and there was a cop. Yeah, the most terrifying thing a 16-year-old who just had a beer could possibly see. He's standing there with a badge and the gun and the whole thing. And he says, what's going on in here? And the hippie looks up at him and says, we don't know nothing about that noise out there. And then me and Ryan sang the chorus. We're just in here having a guitar lesson. Perfectly synchronized. Caught the cop's attention. He looks over at us, and we're both holding guitars. We have no idea how to hold a guitar. But that made sense. That's why we were getting the lesson. Cop looks back at the hippie who shrugs. You know, like, kids, right? Cop says, all right, you guys have a good night, and he shuts the door. But then the hippie looks at both of us, and I'm thinking, oh no, it's time to pay the piper. And he says, both of you. And he twists his hand into this weird, uncomfortable looking claw. And he says, that's an A chord.
There's a gas station near my house, has a little handwritten sign. On one of the pumps it says, please, replace nozzle to pump before driving away with it. Thanks! And like years ago, I took a photograph of this and I posted it to Instagram, and me and a bunch of strangers made fun of all these human trash piles who were just driving away with the pump still in their goddamn car. And so when I drove away with the pump in my car about a year ago, I was bashful. Have you ever made fun of yourself from the past with a bunch of strangers? Because I have. And the thing is, I didn't even know I did it. I had no idea. Yeah, I hopped in the car, blasted my meditation app, and just took off, ripped it right out of the pump, had no idea. and then immediately pulled an illegal 4-lane U-turn. And all of the oncoming traffic was like, bam, 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 bam. And I was like, oh, fuck you, you fucking church Nancy's. It's a U-turn. So I gave him all the middle finger. Meanwhile, spewing gasoline across the street. And then I made a right, and I got on like a big highway, started going very fast. And mind you, I just have a tail, like dragging behind me, like. And then this big white pickup truck pulls up next to me, and he's honking at me, and I was like, what? It's a U-turn! And he's like, roll your window down. And I was like, what? And he's like, you drove away with the pump in your car. And I was like, oh, you drove away with the pump in your... Oh, no! So I did. So I did. And then I was very, very, very embarrassed. And I'm on the highway. I didn't know what to do. So then I just like pulled over to the side of the road, and then he pulled over too. And then like I got out of my car, and then he got out of his car too. I was like deeply embarrassed. You know, it's essentially like I shit my pants, and then he like followed me into the bathroom like, hey man, did you shit your pants? Hey, how much shit is in your pants? Hey, why do you think you shit your pants earlier? And I was just like, what do you want? And he's like, do you need help? And I realized, like, I had a choice to make here, you know? I could act the way men have acted for centuries. I could act like a wounded animal and lash out at this man to protect myself. Or I could be a better man. I could admit my vulnerabilities and say, yes, I screwed up and I do need help. And so that man said, hey, can I help you? And I said to him, no! And then he got mad and got in his car and drove away. And then I was left alone with my shame. And I like walked over to the back of my car. I pulled out the gas pump and I was like, oh, there's definitely still a lot of gas in here, you know? It's like I can't put it in my car because it fumes and stuff. I'm picking up my daughter. What would be very useful right now is a pickup truck, but I just told that guy to go fuck himself. So then I just left my car on the side of the road and then walked with it in my arms all the way back along the highway, down the exit ramp, back to the gas station, where both managers were waiting for me outside. And I just kind of laid it at their feet like a big dead snake. And I was like, well, what do we do now? Turns out it costs $350, which is honestly a lot less than I expected. I mean, you don't get to keep it, but also they're like designed to just pop right off. So the thing is like, just do it. It doesn't matter. Just do it. Also, if you turn it into a comedy bit, it kind of pays for itself.
She was seeing this other guy too who has Netflix. Like, and I don't know what my mom does. I think they're just friends, but I don't know if they Netflix and chill or they Paramount Plus and snore. Whatever they do is fine. But she said he has Netflix, and when I tell you he has Netflix, I mean he still has Netflix. Send DVDs to his mailbox. I shit you not. Did anybody know that was still an option on the table? That used to be the whole business model. Now it's just the one cubicle in the corner. It's like, well, we can't fire Todd. He's the boss's kid. Just give him a bunch of those envelopes to play with. And I don't long for that era. I don't long for the era of getting DVDs in the mail. I miss the previous era when the whole family would pile in the car Friday night and you go to Blockbuster Video. That was a big night. Big night in the Ellis family. Because you drive out there and it was so exciting going to the video store with all this anticipation, and you knew you were leaving with your fourth choice. Because we all have the same strategy. You go to the video store, you start new releases, you go A to Z, and then everybody disperses to their favorite section. My sister tried to rent a horror movie. Oh, that's going to scare your little brother. My dad wanted an action movie. Honey, it's rated R. Mark is trying to rent Basic Instinct again. That's not going to work. So then you just get in this debate, and it ends 30 minutes later with, well, you know what? Fuck it. Just grab Sister Act again, and we'll all watch that. We went to Blockbuster once, but it was like 3 towns over. So my town, Williamsburg, Virginia, we didn't have Blockbuster. We had the local video store, Video Update, which was actually better than Blockbuster because we had all the same sections they had, but Video Update also had the curtain. Yeah, the curtain. It was always way in the back, and it was black with like glitter and weird stains all over it. That was the curtain that led to the adult film section. And you weren't allowed back in there if you were under 18. They had a mirror so everybody could see who was in there. And 12-year-old Mark Ellis came up with a scheme. Yeah. 4-person operation. Me, my buddies Jack, Brian, and Doug. So Jack got a ride to my house. We rode bikes to Brian's, and then we rode bikes to Doug's. Doug's dad was a Marine, so Doug took this shit seriously. He comes out of his house. He's 12 years old, head-to-toe camo. He's like, hey, man, I couldn't get the sword, but I got a knife. And we're like, what the fuck are you talking about? So here's what I came up with. My job was to distract the front clerk guy, right? You know the guy who's always judging you. He's got his picks that are sacred. Doesn't matter what you're renting, he's going to say it's not good enough. Like, oh, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Kubrick's other space movie. Have you seen the moon landing? So my job is to entertain that guy. Brian, Jack, they were the lookout, and then Doug was the most crucial part of the operation. Doug G.I. Joe crawled back there, and he couldn't get back to the magical land of Oz, but he could reach his hand around the corner, and he could pull a movie. Only problem was he couldn't see what movie he was pulling. So first time we tried it, he pulled Edward Penis Hands. So now we got to watch a movie about a guy with 5 dicks on his hand, which ended up being one of my top 10 favorite film experiences of all time. Because we put it on at my house where we had all the good snacks, and we're watching it, and this is like 2 in the morning, and my mom comes downstairs, half awake, just to get a glass of water. She walks through the living room like, oh, I love Winona Ryder. Good night, guys. So then Doug pulled another one the next week. We got cocky, and he pulled Hot Asian Invasion 6. Yeah. If you know anything about that franchise, that's when it got good. That was their Fast 5. But that's not the end of the mission. Now you have to go to another section and switch the tapes out with something we're allowed to rent. So he goes to the family section. First movie he sees, The Adventures of Milo and Otis. If you don't remember that movie, it's a dog and a cat, and they go across the country together. It's a great journey. And the guy working there thinks, we can't wait to get home to see this. And the next guy that tries to rent Hot Asian Invasion 6 instead gets the adorable journey of a dog and a cat going across the country together. And it's just such a weird mindfuck to think all those guys that I came up with that scheme with, they have families. And me, I just moved out to LA and I chased this dream, and it's going okay now, but I mean, there's a lot of misadventures you get into back in the day. And I used to work at the world famous Comedy Store. I used to be an employee there, and you do whatever they ask you to do. You park the cars, you clean up the puke, work the front desk. So I drank a lot. And I remember I got home one night and I was hammered, and it was my little studio apartment, right? I've since added a whole bedroom to the empire. So whenever you get home and you're drunk, you're some level of one of 3 things. You're either tired, you're hungry, or you're horny. And you don't know which one you are all the time. Sometimes you think you're one, and it turns out, no, you were something else. So a couple weeks prior to this, I had met a sex worker at a gentleman's establishment. If you're over 50 in this room, I met a hooker at a strip club. And so I got her number, and she's like, we should hang out sometime. And I'm like, oh, we should hang out sometime. And so I get home from the Comedy Store, I'm hammered, and I make 2 phone calls. And then I pass out. I called her, and I called Pizza Hut. And then I fell asleep. So I woke up the next day, I had a bunch of missed calls, and then I got 2 texts that morning. One was from her, and it said, thanks for the pizza, asshole. And then the other one was from the Pizza Hut guy, and it said, dude, anytime you need pizza, you give me a call. Nobody out pizzas the hut, but I out pussied the hut that night. Yeah, but you get older in life and you think, oh wait, there's more stages to this whole thing than we originally thought, right? Because when you're a kid, you think, oh, I'm gonna grow up, I'll meet somebody, I'll get married, I'll have kids, that's the end. No, I'm here to tell you, if you're still single and you're my age, there's more to life. There's more phases than you were taught. I just entered a new one that I never knew existed. Nobody told me about this, but now I'm in the phase of my life. A lot of my married friends, they're getting divorced. My friends are coming back. If you love something, set it free. And you feel bad for the family or whatever, but you're also excited, right? You're like, I got my buddy back, sweet. But you gotta be careful. That's not really your friend anymore, is it? No, looks like your friend, but they've been through some shit you can't understand. So it's like you took your friend as you knew them, buried them in Pet Cemetery, and now they're back. Like, hey, what's up, man? Hey, man, you got any of those PlayStation 5s left? I saw a tweet. You got any? I do sincerely want to thank you all for coming out tonight. You guys have been a fantastic crowd. And really, this was the exact scenario that me and every other comedian was envisioning when we were in lockdown and we couldn't perform in front of you all night after night. And you just think, when am I going to get back here? Because when the lockdown started, I actually was in Vegas and I had to scramble to get a flight home. So when you're scrambling to get a flight home, what airline do you use? It's Southwest. Who the fuck said Spirit? I need to go from Vegas to LA, and I don't want to go through Cairo to get there. Spirit isn't an airline, it's an escape room. No, you want to fly Southwest. So I flew Southwest. I have money. And I think my letter was like G, and I didn't know they went that high. But I'm sitting on the plane, I'm in row 38, success. And I'll never forget as long as I live, like 15 rows ahead of me, a guy sneezed. And for the first time in my life, nobody blessed him. Not one of the 3 nuns sitting right behind him blessed him. And it was weird. It was like a good sneeze, too. It was like that old man sneeze, that aha! Like they're really sick or they just found treasure. Aha! So he sneezed once, nobody blessed him, we all got silent. He sneezed again, and we murdered him. He's dead. And that story warms my heart for 2 reasons. 1, I got to kill a guy. And 2, a couple months ago, I got to go back to Vegas for the first time since the pandemic, and I got to work there. And it was awesome, because Vegas was back, and people were gambling, and restaurants were full, and it was awesome. And I was reminded that there is a fantasy to doing stand-up that is not the reality. There's a difference. You have your fantasy of what you think the job is, and then the reality of what the gig actually is. So the fantasy of stand-up is that you're going to go on the road, and you're going to entertain audiences, and you're going to make a bunch of beautiful women laugh. And then one of them is going to come back to your hotel room with you, and you make love all night long. Hasn't happened yet. But I've only been doing this 17 years, so there's still time. The reality is you go on the road, you make a bunch of beautiful women laugh, and then you go back to your hotel room alone, and the sex is always happening right next door. I've heard a lot of people have sex. And it's fun now. But back when I was a young comic, it freaked me out. First time I heard it, I didn't know how to react. Because when I was a kid, I never heard my parents have sex. They wrestled a lot, never heard them have sex. Occasionally you see dad take a leak in the middle of the night. Why is he wearing a cape? You know what? He's a wrestler. That's what I'm going with. So first time I was on the road and I had it, I was doing a gig somewhere in the Midwest, and like the painting on my wall was vibrating. And what do you do in that situation? Do you call the front desk and complain? Do you ride it out? I was like, look, I'm gonna give them 10 minutes, and then I came. So I'm like, oh boy. This escalated quickly. So then you just wait another 10 minutes and you bang on the wall. Hey, I'm ready to try again. Sorry about that. First timer. But now I'm a pro. I'm good. Best time I ever heard other people have sex, which is a great way to start a conversation at a dinner party. Best time I ever heard other people have sex, San Diego Comic-Con, 2018. Oh, what a time it was. And it was so beautiful because it was nerds doing it, you know? And like the misconception about us nerds is that we don't have sex. That's not true. We don't have a lot. But when we do, you ever see a raccoon eat a filet mignon? It's not gonna last long, but man, you'll remember that the rest of your life. So I'm in my hotel room, it's Saturday night, 3 a.m., I'm about to pass out. I hear the door next to me close. And by this point in my career, I know the difference between like one person and like an excited couple. This was the latter. So these people get back to their room, and the first thing that turned me on that they might be doing something lovemaking like was not the sounds of passion. First thing I heard, music. I heard the faint strains of a classic John Williams theme song. These people got home from being at Comic-Con all day, eating hot dogs, reading comic books, and they said, tonight's the night that we make love to Jurassic Park. Yeah. You know, I got out of bed and opened a beer. I was like, this is gonna be fun. I'm yelling lines from the movie, hold on to your butts. Use a condom, life finds a way. And I knew it was getting good. I knew one of them was about to have the moment because it was loud, the music was swelling. On my nightstand, I had a glass of water, and it started to ripple. And I tell you that story not to embarrass anybody. No, if you're in LA for the weekend, if you're going on a trip soon with your significant other, I want you to get in a hotel and have the loudest, most boisterous sex of your entire life. I just want you to realize we can hear you too. So make it fun for everyone. Right? Yell out something that's gonna make me laugh. Yahtzee always works. Go board game with it. You sunk my battleship. I'm a nerd, so whenever I climax, I say, Chewie, we're home. Make it competitive, and you're winner! Ladies, don't do this thing you usually do, ladies. Don't do the oh God, okay? Oh God, oh God. God can't hear you. I can. Make it fun for me. Do your favorite fast food jingle. Right there. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba! Go political. Epstein was murdered! Make it historical. Oh, right there, right there. Sic semper tyrannis!